let's just go into it. I'll pause it if I have something to add.
You signed the waiver to get shot with BBs. Don't get all angry when you get shot somewhere you don't want to, when you weren't smart enough to cover it before you signed the waiver.
So, yeah, I mean, at a very basic level, that's totally true. If you That's how it goes, right? You're responsible for bringing your own protective equipment. The field will make sure you're not walking off that field with any permanent injuries, which is why you get some eye pro at the very least, and if it's CQB, definitely full face. I'd recommend it in general. But in short, you can get a shimag and protect your neck, right? You could walk out there with something to protect your balls. It's obviously unwieldy, most people don't do it. But in the end, if you accidentally get shot in the neck or the knuckles or the chest or the balls or the thighs, that's on you. That's how that is. Obviously, if someone's intentionally going for that, that's just a dick move. Don't do that. But in the end, it is fair game to get shot there. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion at all. If we threw a tantrum every time we get shot somewhere it hurts, then we wouldn't be able to play this sport. So I don't think that's unpopular, actually.
People having extreme brand loyalty to the point where they scoff at anyone else's loadout if it ain't X brand, as it rings true in many other hobbies and professions. It's not the equipment that makes the player. If people really have skills in airsoft, then they could beat out Crytek elitists with a full WeTech loadout all day.
Okay, so first off, that comparison doesn't really make sense because Crytek is primarily AEGs and WE-Tech is primarily gas blowbacks. But we get the point. WE is not great. Crytek is considered to be like the holy grail of AEGs out of the box. No, I have to agree. Honestly, like, this is also something you see a lot on the r/airsoft subreddit. Everybody has like their favorite brands and everyone's always going for those brands. And like, you see someone post about their new APS and stuff like that, and the comments are never like, oh hey, that's a great new gun you have there. It's always like, oh, why is it that brand? Why is it that gun? I do get their point. I think it's not that bad, and also the focus on skills is kind of dumb, no offense, because when you're playing at a skirmish, sure, you're playing to win, but you're not there for the win, you're there to have fun, right? That's the end goal. So I think the brand doesn't matter in terms of, oh, is this the gun that'll give me the best performance? It matters in regards to how fun is this. And obviously there, a WE will probably be as fun as a Crytek if you know how to use it. But to an extent, I do agree with this. I feel like brand loyalty in airsoft gets taken too far, especially because we've just kind of reached a level of airsoft where most guns are going to be fine. Like, if you take a SEMA sports line or something like a G&G CM16 Raider Combat Machine Gen 1, right? That's like your baseline. And a couple of years ago, that was what was recommended to beginners. We said, hey, those are good things. Go for those. They have flaws. We know their flaws. We can recommend this. I would say nowadays pretty much anything that's hit the market in the last couple of years, aside from APS. Sorry, I hate APS. It's this again. Yeah, I know. But with very few notable exceptions, pretty much everything that's hit the market in the last years lives up to that standard and goes beyond it in some way, shape, or form. Be that in price to performance, be that in actual parts on the inside, like coming with a MOSFET, or coming with better gears, or coming with a better gearbox in general. And so, like, brand loyalty is good and all, but in the end, pretty much everything that's out there at the moment will do fine in hands that know how to use it and value it, right? So, in the end, our whole, like, brand thing is way over the top. Like, I don't know if you've seen any of Lancer Tactical's newer guns, but Lancer Tactical's newer AEGs are totally fine if you take the time to maybe check out the motor height a little. And they get a ton of hate on the r/airsoft subreddit. Like, everyone's always like, oh, don't get a Lancer, we don't like them. I don't know. I reckon they're alright. Sorry, went off on a tangent there. Let's keep it going for a bit, and let's get it on.
The amount of videos I see of indoor arena players intentionally head and face shooting other players is a little unsettling, to be honest. I don't know when we got away from encouraging center mass shooting and shaming this behavior, but fields and sites need to do better at curbing and discouraging this. And we should police our own, so to speak, so they don't have to. At the end of the day, it's kind of a dick move and done for the gram and clicks, and doesn't serve to better the community.
And that's where you're wrong. Sorry, this one's outright wrong. And I get where it comes from, but it's narrow view. Because, as they pointed out themselves, they're talking about CQB fields. They're talking about close quarters. And the thing is, I don't know any CQB fields that don't demand full face protection. And at most CQB fields, most indoor fields I know, that full face protection takes the shape of something like this. A full face mask. Now, there's also not that many Milsim players, so you're not going to see a ton of plate carriers. For the most part, people are going to be wearing minimal chest rigs or battle belts, and something like sweatpants or a hoodie on their upper body. So, picture this, right? Look at me right now, sitting in front of you. Ooh, spooky mask. Between this and this, what do you think hurts more to get shot in? Buddy, center mass shots hurt more than face shots in CQB. Especially because it's CQB. And there's another point to it. Even if this does hurt less, even if I am wearing a plate carrier, what do you think gets noticed more? This or this? Obviously, the headshot. And we know that the lenses are rated. We know the lenses can last it. And we know that a shot here on the ear cuffs isn't gonna hurt much. It isn't going to ring in your ears either. So, there's really not any drawbacks to getting shot in the face in CQB, besides getting startled. Ironically, if you're able to, shooting someone in the face where they have ear pro and face pro in CQB makes a lot of sense, and it's more courteous than, for example, popping them in the back. Now, don't shoot people in the back of the head. Please don't. It sucks. It just hurts. It doesn't make sense. If you're coming up on someone from behind, take the time to shoot them in the back, not in the back of the head, because that's just not nice. But in general, this is just easy to make mistake, because in the end, getting shot in the face in CQB hurts a lot less than getting shot, for example, in the thighs, which sucks and also makes me scared. I was at a... So my main field that I mainly play at is a CQB field, and we had a game day where we had a bunch of relatively new players. I mean, I was a relatively new player myself at the time, and the people were walking around with relatively long guns. Now, when you're carrying a long rifle in CQB, you're not walking around corners aiming it. You're walking around corners with it pointed down in order to minimize your exposure, right? And if you have enough space, you'll take some space from the corner, have it like here in front of you, and then peek around it with the gun like this. But more likely than not, especially at a really tight CQB field like we play, you're turning corners like this. And when you see someone and you react while you're going like this, you shoot them in the legs, you shoot them in the thighs, you shoot them possibly in the parts where it hurts a lot for AMAB people. So, to an extent, shooting people in the face in CQB is better than that. That game day was scary, and I actually ended up sitting out around at one point because my thighs were so fucking lit up and were bruised all over, and I had a small mental breakdown thinking about how the fuck I would explain that to my family if someone saw that. Um, yeah, it wasn't great. Just don't. No, not don't. Do whatever. But my point is, shooting someone in a mask hurts less than shooting someone in the thighs or the genitals or sometimes the feet if they're wearing soft shoes. Which, why would you be wearing soft shoes playing airsoft? That doesn't make sense. Um, so it's not toxic. It's fine. If you're playing out on an open field, I can see it more. Like if you're playing outdoors, getting shot in the face will suck because there's more people not wearing face pro. Guns tend to have higher velocity and the BBs used tend to be heavier. At our CQB site, I've never seen anyone run anything more than 0.25 gram BBs because you don't need more than that. You're reaching out at most 10 meters. There's no value in heavy BBs. That's different when you're outdoors. But again, getting shot in the mask will startle you. It's not gonna hurt you. So, it to an extent it's actually the courteous thing to do. And I've gone off on another massive tangent. I'm gonna slow down with the tangents and just play the video a little bit so we can make some progress.
This is an unpopular opinion, more than just an unfortunate limitation of airsoft. But the range of airsoft rifles is so terrible that it makes large milsim events feel goofy. Because you have whole squads of dudes engaging laughably close, or tons of guys standing just out of the range.
I can't talk on this because I've never been to a milsim, but I can imagine it's pretty awkward.
My other unpopular opinion is that sniping gameplay is boring as hell. Most techs have no
I don't disagree with that.
Engineering experience. They just do what other people do or what everyone tells them is good in age-old forums.
Yeah.
Mostly due to a lack of standardization, but also because of people talking about stuff they don't understand.
So, here's the thing, right? To what extent does knowing stuff about engineering actually help you be an airsoft tech? I'm not a tech. I am a tech. I'm not a tech. I consider myself somewhat decent at teching on AEGs, particularly M4s, because that's what I'm comfortable with. That's what I know. And in the end, I think I have some experience. I think I understand things reasonably well. I do think that someone with an engineering degree who understands amps and volts probably is a better airsoft tech than I am. But I can tell you a couple of things. I can tell you from experience how to unwind your gearbox if it grinds itself stuck. I can tell you how to open up your gearbox. I can tell you a couple of hacks how to keep an anti-reversal latch in place when you're closing a gearbox. I can tell you how to shim a gear. I can tell you how to shim a trigger. I can tell you how to choose a motor and how to choose a gear set. Right? The thing is, our specific knowledge on airsoft teching stuff is so specific to the topic and has carried on through so many generations and individual techs who've shared their experience with each other on forums and message boards that I wouldn't say that these two contradict each other. I wouldn't say that the information spread on forums is wrong. It definitely has a tendency, it has potential to be misleading and to be off, but some of the basics are pretty straightforward concepts that are very applicable to airsoft and almost never have mistakes. Like basic concepts like higher gear ratios, say 13:1 gears, need torque motor. Speed motor not good. Speed motor generally not good unless you're running a really torquey gear set. Hey, if you're gonna run a really heavy spring, you might wanna up your torque. Hey, if you're running a really heavy spring, maybe you should consider going for a reinforced gearbox and not sticking with the stock, because upwards of anything M140, you're tangibly shortening its lifespan. Hey, maybe 11 1-volt lipos aren't that good to use with a traditional trigger switch without a MOSFET. Stuff like that, right? That's just been said and done so many times that people understand it over the generations, and it's pretty applicable. There's nothing wrong with going off that. And in the end, let's be real. No offense, but if you have an engineering degree or if you understand engineering, you're not gonna be an airsoft tech. You're not gonna spend your days fixing toy guns for grown-ass people. Or, no offense, but kind of worse, children and their parents who don't understand the hobby. You're gonna go maybe design them. You're gonna go maybe work in a different industry entirely. You're not gonna bother with fucking AEGs. So, in the end, yeah, you can criticize techs all you want. You don't have an alternative. You can learn to tech. You can learn it yourself. Do it then. That's good. Seriously, that's great if you do that, but I'm not gonna do it because I don't see the value in it for me personally. I'm happy with what I know about teching. I'm always learning. It is a fun journey to be on. And that's where I'm at. That's what I'm happy with. Zeroing your optics in airsoft is paramount. This one's gonna be interesting.
Slash zeroing in your optics in airsoft is paramount.
Not in CQB.
Especially being able to get out and target quickly is OP. It's one shot and you're out. In CQB,
which is why you don't bother with your optic because it takes too long.
Your airsoft toy will be accurate enough to hit a man-sized target, and it especially helps when you're shooting at knuckles and shooting offhand. If anything,
not
the
much.
dot is a good point of reference for your BBs. Also try using your irons in low light.
Yeah, that's true. Irons in general aren't that useful in airsoft.
Field owners need to maintain awareness of iconology.
Yeah, just use tracer BBs.
Groups. Nothing convinces me faster that a venue isn't worth my time than walking in and seeing neo-Nazi patches on gear. If a field...
And that's something I want to throw something onto for a second. Our local airsoft field bans anything that's political in nature. You can't, like, it's a CQB field, so people don't really show up in Milsim gear anyway, but you can't even wear Milsim gear there. And I think that's great. Well, Milsim gear is fine, but, like, you know what I mean, imitation kits. I think that makes sense. I think that's reasonable. They say politics stay out of the field. It's a little bit frustrating because iconography, as far as I know, I've not had any run-ins with them, I've not asked or confirmed this, includes also things like, for example, LGBTQ plus patches. I think. And to an extent that annoys me because I hate the fact that my existence is political in nature. But I understand why they're doing it, because in the end, anything that's gonna cause disputes off the field can ruin the game day for everyone there. And they're not running a political forum. They're not there to encourage free speech. They're there to encourage everyone to get along, shut the fuck up, and have a good time together. And I think that's fair. I respect that. And I think more fields should implement that. Obviously, if you're doing a milsim, depending on the setting of your milsim and the factions being impersonated, could be difficult. It doesn't really make sense. But I don't want someone turning up to a skirmish game I'm attending in a Second World War recreation kit. Sorry, I don't like that. That's not fun for me. And if someone does, I'm not gonna go complaining about it. But, I mean, it's their right. I'm not gonna stop them from it, but I'm also not gonna be happy about it. You know, whatever. Point is, things like fucking neo-Nazi iconography and stuff like that definitely does not have anything, doesn't have any place on a field. Shouldn't be there. Kick him. Instantly. I don't give a fuck. Tell him, take that shit away from here, or go with it. Right?
Sued a big YouTuber for making a cheater video and won? That would be exciting. The landscape of airsoft videos
would be exciting, but I don't really see the point. I think we're way too focused on cheater videos, and we just don't realize the aggressive potential of the community at large.
Get better if everyone has wildly different opinions about how the game should be played, what's right and wrong, and how someone should or shouldn't play. The worst part is nearly all of these opinions directly conflict with each other. I don't play airsoft at all. mainly just in it for the gun replicas. But if this is the road that Airsoft is going down, I am worried for the future of this community.
Well, let me throw my 2 cents in here for a second. I'm a speedsofter. I like playing CQB, but most of all, if I can, I love throwing it down on the speedsoft court. It is fun. That's what I play for. But there's another part to it that I love, and that's the teching. That's the AEG teching part. It is so fun learning about it. I love it. It's almost as important as actually playing to me. And that's the thing. What am I? Am I an AEG tech? Am I a speedsofter? Am I a CQB player? Am I a casual airsofter? Am I a chairsofter because I'm sitting in a chair? That's a joke question, by the way. All of those are joke questions. It doesn't fucking matter. I play airsoft. I play speedsoft specifically, and I'm an AEG tech. And that's great. That's how I do shit. It's fun. Everyone can have fun of their own. You realize that speedsoft players probably won't go attending a milsim event because it's not their style of play. If they go attending a milsim event, which are prohibitively expensive by the way, right, then they probably also enjoy milsim and they'll fit in just fine with the milsim crowd. Just like milsim players probably won't go to a speedsoft field unless they actually also enjoy speedsoft. What I'm saying is, these groups have nothing to do with each other besides the fact that they use the same technology in their markers. So what's the natural conclusion from that? Fucking leave each other alone. Right? The point is, we are all airsoft. The techs who stay at home, the collectors who've never gone to a field, the casual skirmish players who just dropped their first $800 on a Polar Star and never owned an airsoft gun before that, the speedsofters who love throwing it down in a competitive game, the milsimmers who are in it for the real excitement of working together in a squad. We're all airsofters, but we are not exclusively airsofters, right? Being an airsofter doesn't mean I am an airsofter, therefore everyone who isn't like me is not an airsofter. It's a fucking blanket term. We all fit in there. The different scenes don't harm each other in the slightest. Because guess what? The bills that are coming to regulate airsoft, they don't give a fuck whether you play speedsoft or milsim. They see, hey, realistic looking toy gun, which is kind of the definition of airsoft as a whole, the tools of our different playstyles. And they say, hey, let's ban that and make it look as if we're banning firearm violence. That's great. Looking at you, Canada, by the way, come on. It's bullshit. You're taking away children's toy guns and pretending like you're being tough on firearm violence. It is a fucking joke. Anyone who's voting in favor of that should be ashamed of themselves, because quite frankly, all you're doing is pretending to do anything. Sorry, tangent on Bill C-21. Point is, literally, let everyone exist in the community by themselves and let them shatter off into different communities a little bit, as long as everything stays together, kind of. Think about what paintball has done. Paintball has been through this. Paintball has more or less milsim, paintball has skirmishes, paintball has speedball. They coexist. The people don't interact that much, and that's okay. They found their peace with each other. We can do that too. We just need to stop hating on people. You know, we need to have field owners not look at a gun like the SSG-1 and go, well, that's not going to be allowed at my field because I don't support that. And then half the community goes, yeah, fuck speedsofters. And then the other half of the community goes, oh man, I wanted to play there. You know? Or on the contrarian side, not contrarian side, but on the contrary side to that, have a gun like a Mark 18 come out from, I don't know, fucking G&G or someone, or have G&G drop a line of AKs and have half the community go, oh man, that's not viable on the speedsoft field, fuck that G&G, you should be making more SSG-1. And have the other half of the community go, oh man, I kind of like that, but it's so heavily associated with Speedsofters. My point is, just stop all of that. Just accept we don't play on the same field. We have different sub-communities, but we all play with airsoft guns. Just say that's that. Done. Fucking stop making a topic out of it. It's not a topic in the first place unless we make it one, and we keep fucking making it one, but it doesn't need to be one. It's not a homogenically developing topic. And also the whole like hatred on Speedsofters thing is stupid in the first place, because it comes from hoodie warriors who play aggressively and overshoot, and by the same coin it comes from people who don't like getting shot. It comes equally from both of those parties, and it's created the stigma caricature of the Speedsofter that never existed in the first place. Because I'm just speaking for myself here, but most Speedsoft players I know to tone it down a little bit and fit in at their field. And playing aggressively doesn't equal overshooting. Immature players from all communities will overshoot, and mature players and capable players from all communities will play aggressively. Fuck it. Just drop it. Coexist. Sorry. I got mad there.
Most fighter
and went off on another huge
because
tangent.
the refs themselves are immature and lack being able to do their job and stop things like that from happening. Also, I have never once watched one of these videos and said, wow, I'm never going to that field. I always think that person was having a bad day or crazy, but never blame it on the actual field.
So that is true, but especially in the United States, some fields develop reputations for like, oh, that field has a lot of cheaters, or oh, that field's refs are assholes. And that does by and large start affecting who goes and how many people show up. So that's not really, that's kind of a non-argument, because, you know, you individually could just be a really, really calm person who's never gotten judgmental. Or maybe you've just never heard of a field that just had a lot of people kind of mob mentality their way through that. But yeah, the thing is, what are refs actually supposed to do? Like, unless you're using tracer BBs, they don't really know any better than either of the two players who's been hit. And I mean, especially at outdoor fields, you get that a lot, where airsoft guns aren't that accurate, and it really looks like person A is hitting person B, but person B isn't getting hit. The thing is, person A thinks they're hitting because they can follow the BB, and person B knows they're not getting hit because they don't feel the BB. The ref doesn't have either of those things. Refs are there to keep the peace at the field and to kind of settle the dispute and go, hey, come on, just call it this time. Or, hey, mate, you're not hitting him, just deal with it. You know, they're not there to tell you, oh, you've been hit. That's not what they're there for. They can't do that. They're not superhuman.
I saw someone say Airsoft has the most divided communities. Honestly, I think it's because Airsoft is made up of a dozen different communities, and it can be a dozen different things to different people. It's a sport, It's LARPing, it's a serious sim for military tactics and training, it's a chill time to goof around and have fun. And everyone is both right and wrong depending on where they are, who they're with, and what their personal goals are.
Absolutely agree with this person. I think they have the right idea. It's there, it's genitive, so THEIR. Sorry.
The same thing can be said about paintball, but I think a lot of people, myself included, like Airsoft more since they look more realistic.
Right, but then also a lot of people like Airsoft more because it's cheaper. A lot of people like Airsoft more because electric-powered guns are more available and better developed. A lot of people like Airsoft more because there's a wider variety of available platform. So a lot of people like Airsoft more because there is just so much more you can do in terms of teching on a budget. Some people like airsoft more because having a magazine just suits them better than a hop tube. Point is, there's so many reasons to like airsoft war, and the fact that you on your own have a reason to like airsoft over paintball doesn't mean that other people's reasons that are different from yours are less valid.
I'm not a celebrity, but I'm aware that bigger YouTubers are not keeping newcomers from getting better.
Yeah, of
I
course
watch
not.
experienced and new airsoft YouTubers alike, and I know I'm not the only one.
Yep.
And bigger creators stepping down from sponsorships isn't going to help the smaller ones either. There are plenty of these gear companies that can sponsor multiple content creators, but they're only going to sponsor creators who have the reach that they want.
Yeah, that's totally true. And I mean, I think you can see that the good, quote unquote, good creators prevail just by an example of USAirsoft, because their content's great and they have a ton of really good sponsors. Now, USAirsoft is so popular because they have this great neutral position in the community where they don't judge people. They've never judged people, even when the hype around hating Speedsoft was so big. They've just filmed, they've reported on replicas, they've made their content, they've never hated, they've never taken a side, and their content is good. It documents everything well, the videography is great, and Scott Hollenbeck is just a really amazing person that gives off that kind of I wanna be friends with them vibe. So, sorry, him. So point is, what do you think would happen if USAirsoft were to step down from their sponsorship, or like were to tell, let's say, G&G, hey guys, I think you shouldn't sponsor me anymore. Here's another smaller creator you could sponsor instead. Do you think G&G will send that creator the same guns? Do you think G&G will even keep sending that creator guns, or keep sending that creator funds, or telling a creator to make videos? Like, obviously, first off, that smaller creator doesn't have the reach, but also second off, if that smaller creator were relevant, had that reach, or were closely enough related to G&G, or gave G&G any reason to think that a sponsorship would benefit them, like for example, just really great content, then G&G would sponsor that creator, and USAirsoft doesn't have to step down from that. I mean, G&G sponsor multiple creators. For example, Demo and SYG have sponsorships from KWA and G&G, and fucking... So, yeah, no, I totally agree with this. I'm sorry. I've
If you want
talked too much again.
sponsorships, then do something new and interesting to set your channel apart from the 1,000 others and earn it.
Yeah, tangent. I think the thing that most hurts our hobby on YouTube and our creators on YouTube is our hobby, because we're playing with toy guns, and YouTube doesn't like guns, and they can't tell it apart. Because let's be real, if you look up airsoft, sooner or later you're gonna run into a Demolition Ranch video. If actual gun YouTube started getting banned off the platform, they'd start tagging their videos airsoft instead. So, like, and YouTube knows that. They're not stupid. So they don't push our content, they don't push our videos. That it is what it is. Our community finds them anyway.
The best upgrade you can make to your loadout is going to the gym and eating healthy.
For high
If you
performance,
keep your body
yeah.
in good athletic shape, so you're constantly
Totally.
ready to kick ass,
I'm totally
you'll
doing that.
spank a lot of kids with better gear than you. Even if you don't know the first thing about room clearing or strategic coordination, being in shape goes a very long way.
I don't think
It's
anyone
like in
disagrees
combat
with this.
sports. It doesn't always matter if you know how to fight better than your opponent. If your opponent eats healthier and lifts weights more often, they can beat you anyway. It doesn't matter how much
Depends
you
on
know
the
about
sport.
fighting if you're not upgrading your body. Someone that doesn't know how to fight but is a physical monster can stomp you.
Not when
Similarly,
one BB is
doesn't
all it
matter how
takes to
tricked
take
out
them
your gun
out.
is, and technique can't always save you. Upgrade your body first and foremost. Physicality matters a lot. Being strong and having better cardio are the most basic advantages you can have over the opponent.
I mean, yes, true, but again, strengths and domination and all of that, that's not a thing that happens in airsoft because, again, all it takes is one BB. Doesn't matter how many muscles you have. But I don't think this is a controversial opinion in and of itself, because, in case you haven't realized, most of what competitive players, for example, in Speedsoft wear is athleisure, right? You have sweatpants, you have hoodies, you have bandanas and beanies, you have clothes that's picked mainly because of its performance benefits, you have breathable clothing, you have sneakers. People aren't carrying their milsim kits out onto the field and thinking it helps them in any way.
And guess what? Basics wins fights. Eat healthy, lift weights, and work your cardio. Be a
Gym culture is
monster if you
great, but let's
can.
maybe not make it a vital
Most
part of
arguments
airsoft
about
because we're
brands
just
are
alienating
stupid
part of our
because 90% of
community
players
without a reason.
fall into two categories. Too
Yep.
casual to care about the nitty-gritty of a gun, or serious enough that they'll just gut everything to replace it with aftermarket parts. If the externals are durable and look good, then why does it matter if the motors are mid, or if it doesn't have a Type 4 barrel?
Because if the motor is mid and starts dying out or just doesn't perform, then no matter how good the externals are, the internals are gonna suck. And using it is gonna suck. I mean, that's why VFC gets a bad rep, because the externals are gorgeous and feel great and they're amazing, and the gearboxes die. But so my point, I kind of agree with that though. I'm definitely the latter category that he mentioned, the kind of person that guts everything and has to put their own twist on it. Actually, I can show something off to go with that. This lady may or may not be familiar to some of you. This is an APS EBB M4. I built this. And it's all APS parts, no aftermarket parts, but I've put it all together. Well, it's all aftermarket. It's a custom build from APS parts, which somehow came in cheaper than actually just buying an APS. Don't ask me how. So here's my point about APSs. This thing is whiny as all fuck, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's perfectly shimmed. I've got an aftermarket motor in there. The gears just don't like each other. Now, I can replace them, but that's my point here, right? The externals on this thing are great. The fucking receiver feels amazing, which is surprising because I don't normally like APS externals, but I guess they've upgraded. The handguard is great, right? The outer barrel is great. The externals on this thing are great. The internals have a lot of great features. It has a quick change system. It has electric blowback, which some people like, some people dislike, depends on the brand again. It's not great, but it is what it is. The gearbox on the inside feels nice, but you know what? Still kind of a shit sandwich. And so it doesn't matter. Ultimately, what you want out of an AEG, at least, is you want externals that feel nice enough to run them, and that look nice enough to be worth running. But you want externals and internals that won't make you hate the experience of actually running it. So it makes a huge difference, especially for the first category of people you mentioned. If a lot of people that don't really understand the internals or don't take the time to learn about them will judge a gun based primarily off of its externals, of touching it and being like, oh, the finish on this is great, or it feels really light, or it feels really real, and that's nice. And then after a while, it sucks. And they can't describe why it sucks, but it just sucks to run. And that's my experience from back when I wasn't good at teching, when I didn't understand that, when I had an APS AKSU, I think? No. An AKS 74, something like that. Also electric blowback. I got it, put it in my hands, it felt hefty, it was nice, it felt great to run. It was whiny as fuck. It performed really, really slowly, which I didn't really understand what that meant at the time because I wasn't much into airsoft. I was more of a collector than anything back then. The spring was too heavy for the motor and I couldn't actually use it on the field if I wanted to. Thank God I figured that out in time and didn't take it out. So, it matters. You need balance. And in the end, what people are doing when they're talking about brands is they're doing exactly that, because most beginners are at that first of the two. You know? Most more casual people in the hobby belong to that first of the two groups. When you're buying your first gun, you're not able to gut it and have all the upgrades and make it to where you want it. You're gonna be stuck with what you get out of that box. And so the brand does matter. Because if you get something like an Ares, you're gonna be able to run it without a problem. You get something like a G&G or a SEMA Platinum, it's gonna run fine. You get something like an APS and it's gonna need upgrades in order to function properly. You get something like a SEMA Sportsline and sooner or later it's going to seize up on you and you're going to have trouble understanding how to fix that. It matters. Branding does matter, and the brands in airsoft make a tangible difference, so it does matter, especially for beginners. And because our hobby is so heavily oriented towards beginners, that means that it becomes relevant in conversation very often.
We as a community are not much better than Call of Duty fans. We hate everything every company makes, and we think we're being funny by setting up everyone to fail. If you really stop and look at ourselves, you'll see that we ruin everything for the sake of memes or because we think we could do it any better.
Not wrong, but also very pessimistic. Again, it depends where you look for the hobby. Because I also see a ton of positivity when someone's open to advice, not criticism. Because, yeah. And I just see so much positivity and support for different players in the community as well. Again, we're very oriented towards beginners, so positivity tends to be concentrated around them, whereas more seasoned players don't get a lot of attention and might even get some hate. But it's not wrong either. I don't have enough experience with the Call of Duty community to really understand that analogy. I do have the understanding of that meme of the Xbox 360 Live kid. I don't know. I think it's very negative, but I understand where it comes from.
Japanese-style airsoft is superior to American-style airsoft.
I mean,
1. Japanese airsoft tends to be more tactical, I guess, because most of the fields are CQB fields. Most game modes played are one-life game modes. They often have rules limiting how fast you can run and walk, and limits on how many BBs you can have on you. It encourages people to be more careful and move tactically. People also tend to have more realistic setups, running stuff like ARs and Glocks. Just look at how popular T-Rex Arms is within Japanese airsoft. Number 2,
I'm not a huge fan of
Japanese
T-Rex
people in
Arms. You should
general
probably
are
know that
polite.
in advance about
Japanese
me.
airsoft players are very polite as well.
I don't know, this just seems like a compilation of stereotypes. I do think they have a point, but I think it doesn't come from more realistic or more tactical setups. Because Speedsoft is also a thing in Japan and it's popular there. And, you know. So I don't think that's a huge thing. I do think that in Asia in general, I also saw that when I went to Taiwan, gas blowback rifles are a lot more popular than they are in Europe and the United States. And you see them used more generally and not as restrictively at milsims and skirms. Now the walking and running speed is because you have a lot of fields and cities, and in those cities it tends to be inside a larger building, and if people are running and sliding and jumping around all the time, there's going to be noise complaints, and they're gonna get kicked out, so they have to limit themselves. I think this doesn't come down to a sense of general politeness like this user is insinuating, but I think it comes down more so to the field that they are at always being at risk, and the community probably just being a little bit closer knit by a niche hobby, and then understanding that all of that could disappear, and the understanding that they have to all do their part in order to keep their hobby and their place there alive, rather than just, oh yes, we are Japanese people, we are Asian, therefore we must be polite.
There's a reason you never see airsoft cheater compilations come out of Japan.
It's
and on top
CQB.
of that,
It's
most
hard to
fields
cheat in
only
CQB.
allow adults,
And
so
and Japanese CQB is a lot tighter than indoor play in America.
you don't have to deal with immature kids. The more people
Fucking okay, so here's the thing. I'm torn on the whole kids thing, because kids in airsoft, they have their place there. At the same time, I don't think anybody has fun playing on a field with someone below 14. Because you always got to be careful around them, and kids, they react differently to hormones and the adrenaline rush of the play. So kind of messy.
have access to firearms, the more violence involving firearms will occur. The closer the airsoft community ties itself with the real steel firearms companies,
Yes.
the higher the chance airsoft will be targeted by anti-gun legislation, and we have neither the money or armies of lobbyists needed to buy as many government officials
this is
as
true.
the NRA has.
This is the
to
reason
protect
why I
ourselves.
stand very critically
Expecting
about the Real
firearms
Steel
oligarchy to
Association of
protect
Airsoft.
us is naive. Distancing ourselves from them and branding ourselves like paintball might be our best bet in the long run.
And I fully agree with this. I think it's true. I see eye to eye with this user. I agree. Now about the gun violence thing, I do believe, as far as I know, the statistics back them up on that. But I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not anti-gun. I'm not pro-gun. I want nothing to do with real firearms. They're not within my interest. I'm into airsoft and airsoft exclusively. And as such, I do see the Real Steel Association as a genuine threat to airsoft. In a lot of ways. It's also the reason why I hate the way that T-Rex Arms interacts with the hobby of airsoft. I have nothing against them as a person, but against him as a person, but I dislike the way that he's interacted and framed airsoft on his channel. Sorry, I went off into a tangent. I agree with this user. I think that our hobby will be a lot safer if we just kind of distance ourselves from firearms. And that's also the reason why when we're talking about stuff like fucking Bill C-21 in Canada, it bothers me when people argue for airsoft by arguing for real steel. You don't need real steel in order to keep airsoft. And you don't need airsoft in order to keep real steel. The two are separate issues. And if you have an opinion on real steel and you have a community based on airsoft and you want to use your outreach that way, that's alright, that's fine. But trying to make it an airsoft issue isn't. Now, obviously, Bill C-21 specifically very much is an airsoft issue in the first place. It's not exclusively an airsoft issue, it's an issue of both. But I dislike the association. And I think we are actively putting our hobby in the line of fire by doing that.
Airsoft grenades are really OP.
Airsoft grenades are bullshit. I don't like them. They're the
meters,
main reason I'm not interested in going to a Milsim.
It's worse than blind firing. And they are a little expensive, so people who can't afford it have a big disadvantage. I don't understand why I'm the only one thinking about that.
You're not. You're not bad. But the thing is, you have a huge advantage from investing more money in airsoft in general. You have a huge advantage from an HPA tap fusion engine setup or some bullshit. You have a huge advantage if you can sink an additional $200 into your AEG and get a MOSFET and a high torque motor and a 13-to-1 gear set. Airsoft's pay to win, and the reason we don't care about it is because we're all just there to have fun, and grenades can be a way to have fun, so we allow people to use them, because once we start restricting those, we kind of have to ask, well, what's OP? What's strong? Do we ban things that are strong? And what about the people that own them? How are they gonna feel about that? Airsoft's about having fun. We don't care about competitive advantages. I will say I don't like grenades, particularly sound grenades or generally loud grenades, because they are disorienting, they are genuinely painful on the ears, and especially in a CQB field, they do not belong. They don't have a place there.
As more of a Milsim player, I'd rather play against a really good Speedsoft team that is honest than some crybaby Milsim guys with
I mean,
footlights.
personal preference, I'm not going to comment on that.
Crytek isn't as proprietary as people think,
Look,
and not that big of a pain to work on if you know what you're doing.
yeah,
Paintball.
I have to agree with that. I mean, Crytek has a reputation for, well, everything's kind of off spec, but it's not that hard to get it to work. It's really not. It's kind of still a dick move on their part. Like, why is your motor a little longer than everyone else's? Why do I have to reshim my bevel gear in order to be able to use your motor when all of my other motors work fine with a little bit of motor height adjustment? But at the same time, you know Crytek. Cryteks are good. Cryteks are fine. You buy a Crytek, you get a Crytek. That's what you're getting.
Airsoft are more similar than people think. If you want to get good at airsoft, then don't practice room clearing or tactical movement. Practice snap shooting and sliding. Practice paintball strategies, and you will be the best player at your field. Time and time again, I see my paintball.
Yeah, but again, this is taking airsoft from this really competitive angle, and I get why. I'm a speedsofter myself. I get why you would see airsoft in a competitive way. And I know that there are Milsim players and Skirm players who do the same, but in the end, airsoft primarily, especially when you're talking skirmish games, it's about people having fun. It's about people living out their Navy SEAL fantasy. It's about people playing with the gun that they could never own in real life, but that looks really cool and they've always wanted one. It's about players just having fun. And if your way of having fun is playing really competitively and quickly, okay, good on you, but don't expect everyone to do the same, because hint hint, you're not doing it to win, you're doing it to have fun, and I mean, you should be too.
All friends destroy seasoned airsoft players with rentals because they play like this. Cheating is
cool,
only
good
a
on
problem
you, great.
because it's encouraged by the largest creators in the
It's not
airsoft
encouraged.
space.
Nobody fucking
I
encourages
disagree.
cheating.
The main cause for cheating is poor marshalling. And I say that as an ex-marshal.
How the fuck is a marshal supposed to crack down on cheating? Like, yeah, if it's obvious, obviously penalize it. Okay, fair. But, again, point from earlier, you're not omniscient.
If the site doesn't heavily crack down on it, it'll become endemic.
Cheating's much
Bolt
smaller a
actions are in
topic than
every
people
way
make it out to be in
inferior to a
airsoft in the
DMR.
first place.
A good bolt action will cost far more than, say, an SR-25 with a bucking, barrel, and a nozzle swap, which will perform way better than most snipers, excluding maybe the SRS. Fun over performance.
Yes, exactly. That's not an unpopular opinion, that's a fact. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows that an airsoft, a sniper doesn't give you a huge advantage. Everyone knows that an airsoft, an M4 with an optic, is gonna outperform literally every bolt action sniper that exists. But if a player is gonna have fun by having a bolt action sniper, you're not gonna tell them to fuck off and not have fun. Let them have fun. That's what everyone's there for. It's not about winning. Don't go whining about, oh, I have a sniper on my team, so obviously we're gonna lose this, because it's not about losing. The only way you lose is if you're not having fun. And sometimes games will stop you from having fun, but having a sniper on your team will almost definitely not ruin your fun. You know what will ruin your fun? Stopping yourself from having fun. Go and have fun, let them have fun, live and let live. Fuck off.
I would like to preference this with the fact that I love playing on the speed field, and do so frequently. I have nothing against Speedsoft as a format within Airsoft, but Speedsoft culture has this stinky aura of pretentiousness and exclusion.
I do agree.
Especially amongst competitive teams. Those guys can be really mean-spirited. Bro, pro bowlers are mean-spirited. I've personally seen Milsimmers sucker punch each other because they didn't like the other guy's kits. The sport attracts a lot of man-children, but CPD/speed is generally less toxic in my opinion.
So here's my 2 cents on the matter. I do think that to an extent this is right. Like, fucking, generally I think that, so first off, less toxic than what? Like, it's not a competition. Every direction of Airsoft has toxic people. Every direction of Airsoft has regular people. Black, doesn't matter. I have to agree. I don't have much experience with Speedsoft teams, but I will say that Speedsoft, and no offense, but SpeedQB in particular, have like this aura that I kind of dislike. Like, you have so many Speedsoft players who talk as if Speedsoft is like the next big thing and like the thing that's gonna push Airsoft forward, and all of Airsoft will be affected by the greatness of the amazing hobby of Speedsoft. No, it won't. The Milsim players aren't gonna stop having fun with Milsim. So unless you're planning on kicking them out of the hobby, no, you're not gonna completely reshape Airsoft. I don't understand why you would want to reshape Airsoft in the first place. So like, yeah, great. It's great that you're building your brand. It's great that you're pushing your hobby forward and it's evolving. But please stop as if you're like taking part in a cultural revolution. You're not. You're having fun and that's good. Go and have fun. Just, yeah. I'm sorry, this is also kind of a vent for me because I really love consuming Speedsoft content, but whenever I see a Speedsoft player talk about how great Speedsoft is, I just get the urge to vomit.
I think Airsoft should be more disconnected from real guns. I
I
live in
agree.
an area where very close is crime and violence, and it makes gun laws so strict to the point that there are 3 airsoft places in my state, and that's pretty sad.
Hey, 3 airsoft places in your state, that's not half bad. Here in Germany, I live in Baden-Württemberg, which is the southernmost, well, it's the western of the 2 southernmost states of Germany. We have 1 field in the entirety of our state, and that field is a little privately owned field out in the woods. Well, not really out in the woods, but on a private property with some trees on it. It can fit at most 20 players, and it's run by via an email where you sign up for the email, you get an email, and then you sign up to play for a game day via the email. And if you're too late, well, tough luck, wait for next month. So, like, no offense, but I take 3. But again, not a competition of misery, sorry. I agree that Airsoft should be more disconnected, but also this is not really a point. This is 2 loose concepts thrown together.
People try to impress their playstyles onto others too often during casual play. If you enjoy playing a certain way, then do it.
Yep.
But don't expect others to play as you do.
Yep. And this is especially something I've seen also with newbies. When newbies come out to the field and people are like, oh yeah, do this, do that, and it's not tips how to play. It's not encouraging them to leave spawn. It's just, hey, do this, do that, hold this corner for me. Like, no, don't.
Encourage those who want to learn with you. But as for people that don't play as you do, they paid their own money and they have the right to play
Totally
however
agree.
they choose, as long as it does not infringe on.
If someone wants to chair soft and spawn, let him.
I'm too little in our hobby to share this opinion, But in my opinion, and I feel the light in which most social media presents airsoft is a lot to do with that. I will
I
always
don't know
enjoy the
about that
airsoft
part.
videos that are chill and showcase cool things over the copy and paste dumbass cheater videos that make people think of airsoft in a
Yeah,
bad
I don't
light.
click on cheater videos.
Tokyo Marui
That's fine.
AEGs are overrated and are outclassed in a lot of
Yes.
outdoor scenarios or in places where joule limits are higher. I'm sorry, but a TM recoil shock is going to throw a .28 at 220 to 240 feet per second. I'm slapping that BB out of the air. That being said, if you live in Japan, the FPS is fine. Navrich.
Here, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Not a lot of people know this, but everyone fucking knows. That's not a controversial opinion. Everyone knows that TM are low power for the American market at least, and a lot of airsoft fields around the world, and that TMs aren't built for higher power because of Japanese laws. If someone's getting a TM, especially with the AGs, it's for collection purposes, it's because they want the original. Right? Get on them. Every now and then you get that one guy who really wants to do a high power build in a TM to prove their skill, and it's like, okay, let him, whatever, it's their money. But point is, everyone fucking knows that TMs aren't built for the like mass like Western market because the power limits are just completely different. So don't bother. Just don't bother.
Has some good guns that people should get. I
That
wouldn't
people
post this on
can
Reddit,
get.
as everyone there hates Navrich.
Yeah,
Overshooting?
fair. Novrich gets too much hate. I'm not a fan of Novrich. I'm critical of them. There's a couple of particular guns that I dislike. Like, for example, all of their discontinued guns is just... Especially the SSR-15, I'm not a fan of. Other guns like the SSR-4, as far as I can tell, it's pretty much a Lancer Tactical, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with the Lancer Tactical. They're fine. They're good. Get it. Like fucking $220 for a gun that has a MOSFET in it. Even if it's polymer, that's not a bad deal. That's not overpriced, that's not dropship, that's fine. Other stuff like the KGW KP08, sorry, the Novrich SSP1. I mean, again, it's marked up $30 over the exact same gun from a different manufacturer. If you know that, and you want to support Novrich, fucking go for it. Even then, all the parts are put together for you really nicely, and you have a YouTube video and everything. Like, if you want upgrade parts, getting them there is really easy compared to KJWs. So there's valid arguments to go for it. So yeah, I do agree. I think Novrich gets too much hate. At the same time, that doesn't mean they shouldn't get any criticism at all. But I think that Reddit takes any reasonable opinion and drives it to the extreme where it becomes difficult to back it up, especially because the way we learn in Airsoft as a community is by echoing back each other's experiences. And that way, obviously, even the smallest experience, a fucking negative Airsoft video, right, can get like 10,000 views, and all of a sudden, all of Reddit has that opinion.
Is just an excuse for people to moan about getting hit by
Yeah.
a few more rounds, when in reality,
No.
they're cross about being outplayed.
No. In my experience, that's just not true. Getting overshot sucks, especially depending where you're hit. And I understand how it comes to happen, and it's like, okay, well, we're all out at the field, and like, he shot 6 times, 3 of them hit. He didn't know which 3, so, it happens. You know, it's not something to get mad over. But like, people don't really get that cross about being outplayed per se, because most people I know don't view Airsoft as a contest of skill, at least not at a skirmish. They might be a little upset about having to walk back to spawn. But whatever. So I disagree with this one.
If someone is shooting you outside the rules and leaving bruises, you should be allowed to physically retaliate.
It depends. Actually, Minnesota Airsoft posted a video about shooting steel BBs in a high-powered Springer a while ago. And just to be completely clear, they were not talking about taking that thing onto the field. They were gonna test it. They're testing it in their backyard on like household objects. Nothing wrong with that. Don't send hate their way. They're totally fine. But in the comment section, people were joking about what they would do if they were to get shot with a steel BB. And my response is, I'm throwing hands. If I get shot with a steel BB, I'm probably gonna have to go to the hospital because those things can penetrate soft tissue pretty easily. They can penetrate skin. They can even penetrate clothing. So I'm probably gonna have to go to the hospital. And you know what? If someone sends me to the hospital, I'm taking them with me. So that's that. But on the other hand, if someone's AG is like 5 FPS over the limit, or fucking they accidentally shoot you twice too much, or they end up hitting a bit of exposed skin and it bruises, ooh-wee, like no, do not. If someone's shooting you outside of the rules, like what's outside of the rules? Is overshooting you with 2 extra BBs by accident outside of the rules? Unless they're doing serious injury, no, you shouldn't be allowed to physically retaliate. That's stupid.
Don't bring your airhead girlfriend who has never played airsoft before.
And we get misogyny,
and
okay.
get mad when she gets lit up. I had somebody do this at Commando Airsoft in Wisconsin, and dude basically tried to pick fights with anyone who shot her. On a brighter note, the mag dump was worth it, even though some sweaty, wall-punching white boy got butt hurt.
Ouch! Okay, so this one just hurt to read. That was just a load of fucking bullshit. Don't get me wrong, I've seen it happen. People bring their significant other or their friend who's really not into airsoft out to the site and they don't enjoy it and they get protective of them. Yeah, that does happen. It has nothing to do with that. Just come on, this reads like a fucking... no. What the fuck do you mean the mag dump was worth it? Why are you saying that as if that's something to be proud of? Fucking dickhead.
In my opinion, a well-regulated militia is necessary for the security of a free state, and the people's right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed upon. I'm not quite sure why this opinion was submitted, but okay.
Yeah, cool opinion, bro. Why the fuck is it in an airsoft video?
And that's it for this shorter episode of the Unpopular Airsoft Opinions.
Right. I'm gonna cut it off there because I don't really know what comes in the rest of it, but most of it is just... You know, actually no, we're gonna let it run. We're gonna feature the thanks to the patrons, we're gonna feature any sponsors if there's any.
Really getting anywhere with those, but
I'm gonna be quiet.
If you want some of those comments back in the next episode, then feel free to tell me in the comments. I'm also looking for some more opinions for that next episode, so feel free to speak your mind about all sorts of unpopular opinions that you might have that you would just like to get off your chest. Just try to make it lengthy so we can really understand your viewpoint. And if you really enjoy this series and want to see more episodes, then please help this video break 2,000 likes in a day. You can also follow me on Instagram or even on Twitter if you would like to. YouTube honestly has been really slapping everything I do with limitations, and I gotta admit, I'm starting to get really pissed off about it. I might even make a video with another YouTuber to list all the stuff that we would like to see change on YouTube. But that's something for another day. Either way, I would like to thank you all for watching and for supporting this series so much. But until that next video drops from the city of Dallas, Texas, this has been Scott Hollenbeck, and I will be sure to see you all next time. Alright, so I'm basically done with the video. I've been sitting here ever since I woke up just trying to finish up this video. I've been down in the dumps lately since all the YouTube demonetizations, but we always bounce back. But one thing I added to the living room, which I love because it looks good on camera at pretty much every angle is this big shelf. Now, of course, people use these for cubbies and stuff, but I got all my cars down from there and I added them onto here. Back here, it's mostly the cars that are okay, but they're not as iconic as the stuff like the old Supras from the first movies, the Fast and Furious. And these are all just Fast and Furious cars. I want to add more stuff. Like I have Murcielago over here and a Centenario over here. I think I'm going to be getting into car collecting, but of course, everybody on the screen right now, I'm talking about a shelf, but everybody on the screen right now, I just really wanted to thank every one of the every single USAirsoft channel member. We have so many different videos coming. We have the tour coming in November. It's only a couple weeks out. We're going to be in Japan for 2 weeks. It's going to be insane. A lot of stuff is going to be changing in the next few weeks and a few months. But it's all going to be pretty great stuff. I've been taking so many trips this past couple months. But now I'm just trying to relax and get some of the content that I've been stacking on and stacking on and stacking on out of the way. So, yep, after this video goes up, I'm just going to jump on the next video. And the next video is going to be pretty long. It definitely is. So I have no idea how long this thing's going to take to edit, but it should come out great. So I guess until that video drops, I will see you all next time.
We will be looking forward to that video. I will, anyway. And yeah, one more time, thank you very much USAirsoft for making this series, because it's always very interesting to listen to your video on this, and you know, you've heard my opinions. Again, I'll invite you to also leave your comments below your opinions. Obviously I think it makes more sense to leave them under his video. Also, if in whatever fucking dimension you live, you've seen this video before his, check him out. USAirsoft stuff is always top-notch airsoft content. Yeah. I think the opinions this time were kind of a mixed basket. Some of them I agreed with a lot. Actually, a lot of them weren't that disagreeable in the first place. They weren't unpopular opinions per se, but I guess that's also fair, because to an extent what makes an opinion unpopular in this sense, or in the way we use the term nowadays, probably isn't so much that not a lot of people hold it, but that it's controversial and that it'll spark a discussion in the comments. And I think most of the comments in this video definitely were capable of doing that. But yeah, that's gonna be it from the reaction side of mine. Thank you very much for watching this. Again, USAirsoft, if you'd rather I not have this on the internet, or if you'd rather this not be here, it's gonna disappear, just tell me. I probably should have checked this out in advance. It's a stream. I might private the VOD until I get an okay, but I also don't know whether, as a not small but like non-existent content creator that I am, I can actually get a response out of USAirsoft. Well, we will see. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching. I'm gonna make a video of my own talking about my different guns soon. Probably a live stream rather than a video, because I don't really have the time to edit stuff at the moment. But yeah. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you are having a great evening. I'm Stardust, you're Stardust, we're all Stardust, and I'll be seeing you next time. Goodbye.